everybody. I may have made a slight error somewhere. Let me just if anybody's out there, please let me know, because it went a bit wrong, and when I pressed start it said the schedule had expired, so I don't know what I've done wrong. Who knows? Let me see. Oh no, that's the guest link. Anyway, if anybody's out there, hello. I'm just going to ramble on for a little while and see if anybody appears, because I don't know if... there we go. Neshi's in the house. Hey Neshi, all is good. We're on it. Yes. Is anybody out there? And Sherry's in. Hey Sherry. Right, we're good. It's working. Huzzah. Anyway, so what happened? I don't know. A technological wibbly wobbly. So, firstly, today, let me first apologise in advance, because I have to say I'm not currently running at 100%. I woke up this morning with what felt like several little guys inside my head trying to hammer the way out, and I'm feeling a little bit bleh. So, apologies if I look more horrific than usual. But other than that, well, we're all good. You may be surprised to know I've switched from coffee to mint and nettle tea, so I know what's gone wrong with the world. It's just madness and insanity. Mint and no coffee. It's craziness. Excuse me. But it does have a little bit of honey in it, so anyway. So today's conversation, because I want to involve you all in this today. Actually, Rob, I'm good. Everything's settling down now and easing out. Don't know what it was. I think it was just a glitch somewhere along the line in my head. But everything's a lot easier than it was when I first got up. So we'll be fine. We'll be fine. Yeech. So I don't know how to spell yeech. I don't know what that means. I'm going to bring that up because... Oh, hang on, wrong bit. What does that mean, Rob? Anyway. What was I saying? Oh, yeah, right. So today's... Yeah, you're all involved in this because this all stems from a post I found on the Facebook, which I shared on here, about David Bowie and an interaction he had with an autistic child that won a competition along with a few others, and they got to meet him, etc., etc. Now, if you didn't read the post, then really go and read it, because it is a joyful thing to read, absolutely joyous. But the main part of it that I want to explore is the element where David Bowie meets, because this autistic child has a problem with crowds, and I can't remember the details of his issues, but that's by the by. David Bowie met him alone, which the descriptive word to describe your current condition, bleh, which is more of, you can spell it any which way you want, Rob. Any which way, because they all mean the same. Anyway, where is it? Yeah. So, David Bowie helps this child by removing his invisible mask, giving it to the child, and explaining that it's a magical mask and it helps protect him from the surrounding. Read the post, it says it much better than I am right now. And then David Bowie, out of thin air, magically creates a new mask for himself and puts it on. And they both, says, that's better. Now we can go out into the world and be protected, and so on and so forth. Now, in and of itself, it's a wonderful little story. Wonderful little story, and it speaks well of David Bowie. In understanding this autistic child, and maybe he was on the spectrum, Rob. I don't know, but again, it's by the by. It's not really relevant to. I suppose it's slightly relevant, but not the main point. The main point that I took from it, and the way I see things, is that David Bowie is a sorcerer, or was a sorcerer. The invisible mask that he had was real, and he actually then created a new one for himself out of thin air. The interaction that he had with the child was in fact rather than metaphor, which was very. I'm surprised I dragged that out of my brain today. But yeah, it was a fact that it happened rather than a metaphorical mask, an imaginary thing that helps. It was a real thing. And this is one of the things about magic that we can, the modern world, modern society for me, dismisses acts of magic like that as metaphorical, as imaginary. Isn't it much more interesting to say that these things actually happened? I feel it is. Anyway, so then from that point, it got me thinking about the terms that have been used and bandied about. Hang on. Let me just bring up this. Rob says, is it magical or psychological? Many Kabbalists teach there is no real difference. I, from my perspective, say it's magical. Psychology can be very helpful for many people and is a good thing. But for me, as my understanding goes, it teaches us to dismiss the magical as imagination and metaphor and all those other things. It separates it out into the realm of fantasy. Rather than the reality of it. That's how I think. I might not be explaining it the best way I can today, apologies, but that's my perspective. It's not to say mine is the only perspective. Others feel in different ways, but I just feel that having magic as a reality in the world and the universe is much more interesting, makes life more interesting. Let me bring up this from Polly. Psychology is in the ego logic brain. Yes. Magic in the creative brain. Yes. Yes. Again, I can agree with that. But I, again, would have to. Sorry, my big blue rock's getting heavy. I would have to, again, say for me that the magic still needs to be a reality. It comes from that area, but is also real, a reality in the world. Does that make any sense? Let me know if it is. So, but anyway, yeah, sidetracked. So, from there, I I I came with I came from that point anyway about David Bowie, and I immediately came up with the word sorcerer to describe him within that moment. I do hope he had a um, a long life of being a sorcerer over and above being a musician. Um, anyway, again, by the by. But I came up with I used the term to describe that as a source, describe him as a sorcerer rather than a magician, rather than a wizard. And it made me think about the terms that we use to describe magic users. And what's the difference? Because we have a lot of terminology, and if why do we have a lot of terminology? If it's all saying the same thing, there must be a differentiation between a wizard, a witch, a warlock, a sorcerer, a mage, a druid, and so on and so on, and there are others. So I went looking around, and let me just bring up a couple of comments up here. No, where do I do that? Right, so so where was that? Apologize. Scientific psychology, yes, but the etymology of the word means study of the soul. Interesting. That would that would definitely won't further study, indeed. And Neshi has said, so true about the logic and creative minds. From a mystical or medicine point of view, we can walk between the two and gather the best of both. I suppose we would call it balance. Yes. Yes. And I need to come back to Neshi for some questions I have for her. And Sherry says, yes, magical experiences are joyful, and joy is our natural and true state of being. Very true. And Polly, pressed it too many times. Interesting. Study for me implies thinking. Thinking is connected to logic versus creation, regardless of the content. Yes. And Rob, mystical traditions are about the marriage of the two. So within this, there's quite a lot more to delve into that is very interesting. You know, the etymology of words, how those words have changed over time, or the use of those words and the meaning behind those words has changed over time. And we can, within that, then if we work backwards and find the source of those and work from that, that in itself could take us away from a purely, I'm going to use the word scientific, logical methodology where which takes us away from the magic of things. I might come around to that again in a bit. Anyway, so again, we go back to the terms. No, I'm going to scoot back there anyway. So the ones that I looked at, and anyway, so yes, it's extremely complicated going looking for things, definitions almost, or at least loose definitions, shall we say, that explain or help us understand what we're talking about, or who we're talking about, or the person we are talking about. So let's go with magician, wizard, sorcerer, witch, warlock to begin with. They are all connected, but there are differences, and working through the differences from a traditional folklore factual perspective and trying to weed out the uses in popular culture, whether it be movies, books, fantasy games, etc., etc. Yeah, that was a bit difficult because, anyway, as you can imagine. But loosely, we'll as a loose differentiation between those aspects of magic users. The wizard, he or she, because magic users can be male or female, there is no magic doesn't make any. Hi, Jane. I did too, but we fixed it. I had a hammer. Okay, you'll have to forgive me. My brain's a little bit disjointed, as I said earlier. So, the word magician seems to be a catch-all term which could be used for any non-specific person that uses magic. Although the modern use is somebody, an illusionist who pretends to use magic. So if we then come out and use the specific term of wizard, the word derives from, is it the Anglo-Saxon? It derives from the term for wise one. The wise one who has learned his art with training as an apprentice through books and literature, and has gained these magical skills that way, and has generally works with the elements, with nature. Actually, most of them work with the elements and nature, but in different ways. So that's more of that's the loose definition of wizard. Sorcerer, oh, I'll come back to that later. A sorcerer seems to be a person who has been born with an innate magical ability that requires training to achieve their potential. So there's another element to it where that magic comes from within. They can study the same everything that a wizard has studied, but there's that difference where that magic has come from within. Right, I'll leave it there because it does start getting very complicated, and I do think unnecessarily so, because there's a lot of different opinions out there what one is and what another is, and am I reading a fantasy novel or not? It's just I've done the best I can. So, wizard sorcerer, witch. A witch is similar to a wizard in the fact that they also use work with the elements the natural world within their magic. You know, we're most of us are quite comfortable with the term witch these days. It's not generally pointy hats and broomsticks, although Wicca is more of a modern terminology for it. Wiccans, etc. The way I look at it and see it, witches using witchcraft have a more practical witches are more practical in their use of magic, and Wiccans are more ceremonial in their use of magic. I could be completely wrong. That's just what I've taken from the people that I've spoken to, the witches and Wiccans that I know. So it it's just slightly different in the way that they come to it and the reasons they come to it. Anyway, so then I'm going to come on to Warlock. Now, I always used to think, because this is what I read a long, long time ago, that a Warlock was a male witch. This turns out to be wrong. A witch is either male or female. A warlock, the term warlock derives from the term for oath breaker, which was given to somebody who betrayed the coven that they belonged to. So that's a warlock. So there you go. So it's a completely different type of thing. And then we come on to mage. Did I mention mage earlier? I don't know. A mage, which does seem to be a connection to the Magi in the story of Jesus and his birth, the three wise men. A mage, again, comes from the term for wise one, apparently, but from a different root. And learns the magical arts in the same way as a wizard. But the difference the difference that I've found is that a mage also, through their studies, is able to create new spells, charms, ways of working, whereas a wizard uses only the knowledge to his or her only the knowledge that is available to him or her that they have, or within the books and the scrolls that they have, etc. They don't create anything new, they just use what's currently available. So that is a brief, it's a small part, because then you kind of, you look back and you go with priestesses of the ancient world, whether they be Greek, Egyptian, etc. There was magical works within their whatever. I'm trying to think. I can't think of that. Word's just falling out of my head, so I'm going to go away and leave that where it was. The priests and priestesses of the ancient world had to my mind, had a magical element within their work, regardless. And then there's seers. They can have magical elements as well as being able, well, the word in and of it, the term in itself is slightly self-explanatory. They see, they predict, etc. But then others can do too. I'm just wondering whether the terminology that we use offers a specific talent that they have over their other talents. Does that make sense? I think it does. So, so that for me, I think it's one of those elements that is there. The differences between these elements of magic workers that we hear, but we don't think about, we don't really dig into. And I just thought, I need to know for myself. I need to know because within that knowledge, I think you find something that is useful. I hope so. Um, right, so I'm going to just nip back to the comments because they've been coming in, and it's not that I've been ignoring them. It's just been looking for the wordies that have been floating around my head. La 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 la. Okay. Right. Rob is here. Right. Let's go this one. So Rob, um, yes, begins in the bardic training. It's interesting how individuals take what they need where they are. Yes. Yes. The bardic Gwersi do. Hang on. They do. Everybody finds something different, the thing that they need within it. And I think that's true with every lesson. I do. I think everybody finds something slightly different. Okay, what's this? Functional definitions. Vastly different definitions can provide different functions. Indeed. Jocelyn says, hi. Jane, I hope your internet's okay. And Sherry says, interesting, did not know about that about Warlock. No, neither did I until not very long ago. Oh. Right. This is interesting. The cunning folk and folk healers. I feel that the cunning folk healers are, personally, I would put them more in line with witches and witchcraft. I'm not saying the same because they're not. I do think the term cunning folk may have been used as a more derogatory term, as you know, because the other terms for the same people are the wise women, the wise men, the wise women. Again, working with the natural world and all its healing properties. I suppose I'd put them in the not how do I put it? Not in the same group, but aligned with the druids and the witches. Because I feel that those three groups were connected more with the people that are around and with the people that sought them out, the wizards and sorcerers. They just have that different working. It just feels different. I can't articulate it very well. Those two groups feel different. Whether witches, druids, folk healers, seem to work for. I'm just going to get myself mixed up here. Something in my brain that I just can't articulate. I'm going to have to think about that a lot more. Where do you think they fit in? I'm going to just turn the question around and put it on you, because that's easier today. Okay. It also sounds like understanding what other cultures and beliefs call magic, and those who create magic. Different words with similar meaning. I suppose we have to look at how they apply their knowledge and experience. And I think that is probably where I would be, what I was trying to go with the folk healers and where they fit in, and where you would put them all, because I'm actually, I was grouping them together and separating where actually I can't really. They all have their different aspects, their different abilities. Let's not forget, there are also going to be those who work in the light and those who work in the dark. I'm just going to bring up Jane's note here. I agree. Similar to the hedge witch ID, yes. Individuals who were herbalists had an understanding of magical applications for healing and connection to the natural world. Exactly. Exactly. So we've got a connecting thread all the way through of magic. It's just that where does that magic come from? How is it applied? And what are you doing with it? And who is it for? Which, and back to Neshi, this is what I wanted to ask Neshi. Different words with similar meaning. There is understanding what other cultures and beliefs call magic and those who create magic. See, that is something I wanted to bring Neshi in on specifically, because I want to dig in a bit to the Native American beliefs on magic and their terminology. I know there's different languages, different nations, etc. I know, but we've got Neshi, so we're going to ask her. From her perspective, what the different magic from your perspective, Neshi. We would like to bring that in because I think it's important. Let's bring up Rob. All right. There is a joke religion of the 1960s counterculture called Discord, and blah, blah, blah. Many of its ideas are expounded by sci-fi author Adam Wilson. He presents reality as competing ideas and encourages an idealistic shape-shifting. Okay. His novel Schrodinger's Cat was the indulgent for the TV show Quantum Leap. Well, from this joke religion came the philosophic school of trivialism. Hmm. Hmm. I need to be excused a moment. Just don't go away. I'll be back. Sorry about that. Just had to go and check on something. But we're good. Right. La 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 la. Where's the thing that helps me go? Oh, there it is. Right. So, not entirely sure how that fits in, Rob. Have to think about that. I'm bringing up Jane. All of us are individual practitioners. However, as humans, we often seek connection and identification to make sense of our place in the world. Therefore, we create groupings of common practices to try and make sense of it. For most, this is fine. Some sadly create hierarchical structures of the groupings. Yeah, that is where I think I was getting the issues, because there's no hierarchy, there's just differences in training, I suppose, differences in personal philosophies. But to expand on that, in my mind, there's no hierarchy. They are all connected. Right, Neshi. Many Native Americans would call magic medicine. The use of not just of the four elements, but also calling in of our creation, of all of creation, to work on their behalf. There's also the capturing of souls, usually bad medicine, to work on conjurers to behalf to create magic or medicine. So there's definitely different terminologies and definitely different ways of working. But from that, I take the idea that we're all still working in the same field. I'm seeing that this is the words and actions that may be used by a wizard or a sorcerer, or a person using Native American medicine. They would be using different words, different actions, different objects, but each would understand each other. as being like themselves in working with magic. I hope that makes sense. I'm going to bring up this next one from Neshi. There is no difference between the spiritual world and the physical world. Other than we create the physical world in cooperation with spirit, which yeah, again, that statement, although I've, just roughly scratched into what the differences, different terminologies, but linking them from a European perspective, European language, then those people within, yeah, there doesn't seem to be any difference. The only difference is the magic of the land and the sky from that part of the earth, but we're still doing the same things. Yes, she is. Thank you, Rob. Uh, Jane's replying to Rob, I think. Similar could be said for the popular rise of being a Jedi on census reports. All of these are paradigm desires for a society to be more enlightened, caring, etc. Yes. Yes. Um, I'm jumping, Rob. I'm not ignoring you, but I'm just want to follow on what this Neshi said. In Native American medicine, there is the use of old ways, the use of new or newly created medicine, which then becomes part of the old ways as it is passed down to younger generations. Yes, so it's the whole thing is one long journey, and it's up to the younger generations to decide for themselves which part of that magical tradition that connects to them, that speaks to them, that they can work with. And that's again something that is still happening over here. See, the reason, one of the reasons why I wanted specifically Neshi to weigh in with terminology from a Native American perspective is one of respect, because we've all seen movies, etc. All the popular culture from the last 100 years or so has illustrated Native American culture through one specific lens, which has not been particularly respectful. Neshi's, and we've all heard of the medicine, etc., etc. But I think hearing that from her specifically puts a how do I explain it? How do I put it? I'm trying very hard here. You can see my brain I'm surprised smoke's not coming out of my ears at the moment. It's a respectful understanding that any terminology that we're using is okay by you when we start discussing magical traditions from other cultures. I think that's what I mean. Anyway, I'm going to jump down. Jane. Where are we? I agree. We're working the same energy field. It is how we interpret and connect based on ancestral or chosen past landscape. Yeah. Yes. Neshi? Jane, thank you for saying what I've been trying to say very clumsily for the past nearly an hour. Of course, in modern day, there is the influence of the Christian churches and dogma, but if we look just at the indigenous nature or earth base, we are all very similar in how we create medicines or magic. And yes, and that is it to the T, that is exactly the same from our traditions here. There is no difference, and we are more alike than we are different. Which I find very heartening. Well, I'm going to bring in Rob on that one. Law of correspondences as above, so below in the West. From one thing we know 10,000 things in the East. Yes, exactly. We have if we give ourselves space to think about it, we already understand each other from our ancestors, from how we connect with the land and the trees and the sky, the spirits. Yes, yes, it's I think one of the things that's just popped into my head about the use of the language that we do, and again, going back to what I said about respect, respecting a tradition that might not be ours because it's basically connected through the land in one way or another, through the sky, through the spirits in one way or another, is trying to rid ourselves, or me in particular, rid myself of any unfortunate influence from popular culture that often gets things wrong. What do you think? But anyway, I've been rattling on. I'm just going to have a drink. I might run over a little bit. I hope nobody minds. I just need to. Because from there, we haven't we may have to carry this on next month, but I've got some housekeeping I need to talk to you about before I do go. What's that? Well, thank you, Neshi. You did so well with your service. Fascinating. You provided space for us to have an important, serious conversation, even when you weren't feeling well. Thank you. Well, actually, I perked up since we've been discussing this. It's gotten me out of my head. It's taken my concentration away from what's going on inside my head to what's inside my head. But anyway, it's good. Well, it's my pleasure. Yeah, I'm good. Might carry this on next month, actually, if everybody's up for it, because there are other elements which I'd like to explore, and it's been really good, good talking about all these differences and similarities. Yeah. Anyway, so how about that? We carry this on next month. I vote yes, and as I'm in charge, motion carried. So, just before we go, what I am going to say is this. Next month, we're going to do this, but January, February, March, I'm taking a bit of a break. So there won't be a show at the beginning of next year. There won't be the show the first 3 months of next year, because I have quite a few personal things to get through, organised, sorted out, dealt with, which have been piling up a bit. And I don't feel personally that they've been piling up, but they've been going on for months. This whole year has been a difficult year, and I need a bit of breathing space to get things dealt with. And I really don't feel that I've given my best to the show and you, and I need to regroup. So that's the plan. I'm taking the first 3 months off next year and just having a bit of breathing space just to figure everything out. So I hope you don't mind. I hope you don't miss me too much. I'm not. I'm going to be throwing things into the. I mean, you can tell I've not been posting much on the Starter Stone page, etc. So it's all been. Everything's just a bit much at the moment. But what I'm trying to say is, I'm not going away completely. I'm still around. If you want me, drop me a line. The page will still be open and I'll still be posting stuff. So keep checking in. So there's some more messages. It's a great conversation. Keen to learn more about the differences in various beliefs, as it is in what we don't know that we learn the most. Exactly. Sherry, I enjoy the delicious diversity of many traditions and hearing about the ways they honour life and their practices. What is so different is so beautifully similar. Yes. I hope you get your focus back. Your knowledge in specialities is extraordinary. Well, thank you. And in answer, that would be interesting, wouldn't it? Strokey beard. Might do That would be interesting. I'm going to say that would be really, really good. However, I might be co-opting your assistance in that. So that's your own fault for suggesting it. So, yes, I'll be there too. Well, it was your suggestion, so it's your fault. I take no responsibility. Watch this space for more information, or the other space, which is the page. Right. So, I'll tell you, we might talk more about that next month. But for now, I'm going to say thank you for joining me. Thank you for your patience and understanding. Thank you for joining in so magnificently. Even if my brain was a little bit on the fried side to begin with, and during and now. But thank you. It's been a fascinating talk, and we are going to carry on next month. So until then, peace and blessings to all of you, and you know where I am if you want me. I talk to you again soon. Bye everybody. Bye Jane. Bye Neshi. Bye Rob. Bye Sherry. Hang on. Where are they? I can't remember who else popped in. You know who you are, but I want to mention you by name. Thank you, Polly. There was somebody else. Thank you, Jocelyn. Right. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, everybody, for joining in, and we will carry on next month. So until then, peace, everybody. See you soon.